Sup people, Red Vince here, and welcome back to the Spotlight. If someone were to ask you, who do you think is the worst band or singer of all time, or which one are your least favorites, who would you pick? Well, I'm sure you all would have different choices, because music is probably the most subjective of all forms of entertainment. There's really no such thing as good or bad, it's all just opinion.
However, the band that nearly everyone considers to be one of the worst and almost no one seems to like is Nickelback. And I'm just going to be honest, I don't get it. And that's why today the spotlight is on them. I don't love Nickelback, but I do like them, and I think they can make decent music. But for whatever reason, they've become one of the biggest laughingstocks in the business. Why? I mean, according to Watch Mojo's top 10 most hated music artists, not only were they ranked at number 2, but they were ranked worse than Justin Bieber, who was at number 3.
Number 2? Worse than Bieber? Are you shitting me? Well then who the hell was number 1?
Oh. Well, okay, I'll give you that. But I still call total bullshit on Nickelback's ranking. Like I said, I do think they've got some good songs and albums under their belt, and they are one of the best-selling acts of the new millennium, so clearly they're doing something right. So why do they have such a bad reputation?
Now before I get into this, let me just start off by saying I'm not really the guy to review music. I don't really know what there is to review.
That's why I give all the credit in the world to music reviewers, for actually finding something to talk about.
To me, you either like the music or you don't. Plain and simple. So I'm probably not the best guy to be discussing why a band is unpopular, but heck, that's why we're here, so let's just do it anyway. So these are some of the recurring criticisms I keep hearing.
Number 1. Chad Kroeger's singing. Frontman Chad Kroeger often gets crap for his growling, gruff singing voice. And once again, I don't get it. Honestly, I think it sounds kinda cool.
I wish I could sing like that. Or at all. I'm tone deaf.
I guess I don't get why his singing is considered to be so bad, when there are plenty of people who are way worse and ironically way more popular. Have you heard AC/DC lately? Now before you get all pissed off, I, for the record, am not saying I don't like AC/DC. Actually, I like everything about them, except for their vocals. I love the instrumentals to their songs, but both Bon Scott and Brian Johnson's singing drives me nuts.
She was a fast machine, she cut the motor clean. She was the best damn woman that I ever seen.
God, I can feel my ears bleeding as we speak.
Living easy, living free. Season ticket on a one-way ride.
Jesus Christ, it sounds like he's passing a kidney stone.
Check out everything in my stride. Don't need reason, don't need rhyme.
So let me get this straight. This is crap,
This is how you remind me of what I really am. This is how you remind me of what I really am.
but this isn't.
I hit the sand. I've been too long. I'm glad to be back. Yes, I'm letting loose from the news. That's kept me hanging around again.
What the hell?
Number 2. All their songs sound the same. This I half agree with. Some of their songs do sound the same, to the point where I can't even tell which one is which, but others I think sound incredibly different, to the point where I can tell you which one is which within a couple of seconds.
But again, why does Nickelback in particular get crap for this?
There are bands like Breaking Benjamin and Disturbed that have a very consistent sound, to the point where some people would say it all sounds the same. And while that has earned them some critics, for the most part they're pretty popular. So why do they get a pass but Nickelback doesn't? And for that matter, remember when Metallica actually did change their sound with the Black Album, Load, Reload, and so forth? They were called sellouts and lost half their fans.
Are music fans ever satisfied?
Number 3. Their lyrics suck. Well, I will admit lyrics aren't their strong suit. But I can almost always overlook mediocre lyrics if the instrumentals work well enough for me. Speaking of which, number 4, their music is bland and generic. Again, this is an area I think it would be best left to an actual music reviewer to discuss. However, I will say that for the most part, I have no problem with the music. Sure, it may be bland by comparison to some others, but I don't think bland automatically means bad. Sometimes the bare minimum is all you need. And for me, Nickelback's sound may not be anything special, but it still gets my head banging from time to time, so I can't really complain about it.
I'm sure there are other reasons for all the Nickelback hate, but those are the ones I keep hearing the most. But regardless of what you hear from other people, the only way to truly get an idea of what a band's music is like is to listen to it yourself. And for the purposes of this video, I have listened to Nickelback's entire discography, even the albums I never heard before. My thoughts are as follows.
The first album is Curb, and I'll admit, this is not a good album to start out on. I can sum this album up in one word: forgettable. I've listened to it 3 times now, and I still barely remember anything about it. It's albums like this that get a band called generic. Their next album, The State, is better, but not by much. I actually do remember a few tracks from this, but for the most part, it's pretty forgettable too. Up next is Silver Side Up. This is the album that really put the band into the limelight, but it's also one of their most infamous. I, however, really like this album. To be perfectly honest, I like all the songs from this one. Pretty much everything that made this album famous at the time is now part of what gives Nickelback the reputation they have. But I still really enjoy this album a lot. But I guess that's just me. Next is The Long Road. This one is okay. I say this because there are some songs that don't really stand out and just feel like filler. But there are also some that I enjoy. More than The State anyway. Also, I should point out that this album got some criticism at the time for sounding similar to Silver Side Up. And while it does sound like they were trying to mimic what made that album popular, I don't know if I'd say it sounds just like it.
To me, saying that 2 songs or albums sound similar means that it's hard to tell them apart, and I can definitely tell these apart. Sometimes.
Anyway, after that is All the Right Reasons. And this is another album that was popular at the time, but now is one of the shining examples of why people don't like Nickelback. But also like Silver Side Up, I still really enjoy this album. In fact, out of all of Nickelback's albums, this one is my favorite. I enjoy every single song on this album, even Photograph, one of Nickelback's most laughed at and hated songs ever. Next up is Dark Horse. This one is a guilty pleasure. Remember what I said before about their lyrics often being mocked, and how I can usually overlook them if the instrumentals are good enough? Well, this is one of the best examples of that Nickelback has. Lyrically, half this album is just the same thing over and over. It's all about sex. I mean, you've got the song Something in Your Mouth. I think that speaks for itself. Next Go Around, which is about all the various ways a guy wants to fuck his girlfriend. Shaking Hands, which is about a prostitute. And, I'm not even kidding, one of the songs is just blatantly called Sex.
Wow, way to be original, guys.
But, like I said earlier, the instrumentals are enough for me to rock out to the point where I'm not even paying attention to the lyrics half the time. I don't know, maybe I'm just very easy to please when it comes to music. Then there's Here and Now. Like The Long Road, I'd play this one in the okay category. Some songs stand out and are enjoyable, but others don't and have the generic sound that everyone seems to harp on. Finally, we have their most recent album, No Fixed Address. And honestly, I don't even know what to say about this one. On the one hand, I should place it in the forgettable category because just like Curb, I don't remember any songs from it. But on the other hand, is it just me or does it sound like they're actually trying to change their sound up a bit? Yeah, one of the biggest bands that supposedly only has one sound is finally trying to mix it up somewhat. Who'd have thought?
And that about sums up my thoughts on Nickelback. So, as usual, I must ask, what do you think of Nickelback? Do you like them? Hate them? Indifferent? As usual, give your thoughts in the comments section below, and if you like this video, hit those like and subscribe buttons. Until next time, this is Red Vince signing out.